Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Rimshots with Sean, brought to you by Barstools and Bandtalk. You got to be getting sick of me. Holy smokes, I've been doing a ton of these the last little bit. It's been great. I have a young lady here who I met almost 2 summers ago at a little event that I was taking part in, and we're going to talk about that and a whole bunch of other things. Miss Stacie Lynn, how are you, my dear?
I'm good. How are you?
You're in sunny Deer Lake, or sorry, Stephenville, Newfoundland, which is beautiful.
Yes, this is my first time ever being to Newfoundland. I heard that this is quite the place. Not that I've been told I'm not in the best place in Newfoundland, that I should go to St. John's, but I can't pick and choose with work. So
You know what? You can have a good time in Newfoundland no matter where you are.
yeah.
I've been all over that island, and there's no finer people in the world. So you and I crossed paths. It was almost 2 summers ago. This little old thing. The boys at Pizza Town in Cole Harbor, Sackville, decided to do the Sackville Idol event, and it
Yeah.
was really cool. There was a bunch of people. You showed up. I think it was the second or third night. Uh,
Uh,
you
yeah, the third night.
you won your heat. You came back and you won the whole stinking thing. What I remember about, because I missed the first two, I can't remember what was going on, but the third one, I remember seeing you. I remember talking to you afterwards. I remember you being very nervous. And
hmm
I went up and I chatted with you, and you made the comment about, well, the music business isn't really geared towards, tall girls and whatnot. And I said, well, you know what? I thought you did great. You were nervous, but keep doing your thing. That was, I would say, that was a really nice little sort of way for you to kind of kickstart things again, was it not?
Yeah, it was. Just having that conversation with you, I know that I was nervous for that thing because I personally have like kind of branched away from music for a little bit prior to Sackville Idol. And that's just because of exactly what you said. It's hard in the music business as is, but then add the fact that I'm 6'3" and I'm a bigger girl, and I get turned down for so many things just because of how I look, that it's so discouraging. So Sackville Idol was the first thing I've done in quite a few years, that really got me back out there.
And it's interesting because there's a saying that I have a 24-year-old son who's into hip hop, and he's had people that have said it all the time. He produces, he performs. I certainly know this. You got to make it elsewhere before you make it in your own backyard. I don't know what it is, and it's not specific to any market, but here in particular, people are they're sort of supportive. And then if you crack something really big, everybody wants to talk to you. Everybody wants to say, "I knew them when." Are you finding that a little bit, or have you been getting some good support?
Um, I find that I've been getting some good support lately, especially with my new release of Mirrors on Monday. The support has been phenomenal because I also released a song in December of last year, but it wasn't the same. And I don't know if it's just because of what this message of my newest song is. But I've been getting a lot of support locally, and I'm not even in Nova Scotia right now. So
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? And we'll talk about that in a few minutes. The same thing happened with the song, and we can go into that. But before we do, I remember having the conversation with you, and I said, you know what? There's somebody. You told me kind of your deal, and you told me, kind of your experiences with the business, and you had been out of it, you got back into it. You're talking to me, and I'm like, there's somebody that's sitting in a truck in the parking lot that had almost the exact same musical experience that's doing pretty well. And I said, go over and talk to that person. And that was Michelle. And it's actually mind bending how the two of you, you're both tall girls. You both don't fit that, 5'2", 110 pound, but you both have talent that people need to. You're both beautiful women, but the talent's there. Is that a fair
yeah,
statement?
yeah, that's a fair statement.
And so, I think personally, I mean, and that night you were nervous. You came back and you played a little guitar in the finals. I remember that. And
Yeah.
the one thing that I remember saying to you afterwards, you have no problem with the thing staying in tune, and you handled it. The nervousness was, most people when their instruments mess up like that, it's like, oh no, you handle it like you had been on stage for 20 years.
Yeah, I'm not really 100% confident in playing the guitar myself because I didn't take guitar lessons.
Right.
I myself how to play by just asking my parents one year to buy me a guitar for when I was 17, and I've been playing around with it ever since. So, um, as soon as I had that conversation with you, and then you directed me to go see Michelle, and then I had the conversation with Michelle, I was like, you know what? Let me try something different. And then I stepped out of that comfort zone and I used the guitar, and it was a whole between the first night and the final night, it was a whole different situation. I'm a lot more confident when I have it in my hand. And then the music just kind of flows with it. So
And here's the thing, and I mean, like I hate to being the advice person, but I learned a long time ago, right? Like the person that can give you the best support and the best advice and the best everything is yourself. And sometimes self-confidence comes off as cockiness or whatever, but I basically, the way I conduct myself is, you like me, great, I'm fine with that too. But I like what I do. And I think we kind of had that conversation that night too, because when you came back, and I'm not saying, hey, I gave you the pep talk, but I noticed a huge difference in you from night one to night two. It was almost like, okay, you know what? I got through that one, man. I'm just going to kick the doors out of the place.
yeah, and I 100% agree. And I also find that that has to do with, like I said, I haven't, I didn't branch out prior to Sackville. I saw the opportunity to join it because with COVID during the time, there wasn't much going on and it was really hard to even do anything music related. So as soon as I saw the opportunity, I said, you know what? I'm gonna do it. So I was nervous the first night because again, haven't been on stage in quite a while or in front of people in quite a while. And then once I had that in underneath my belt, I was like, you got this, girl. You could do this.
Yeah, for sure. And and those things sometimes can be less a talent contest and more of a popularity contest. That
Yeah.
night it was interesting. And I mean, we weren't on a scale of like 10 million people watching us, but there was a lot of people watching it online because we were live streaming it. And I really did find that talent prevailed, and people were like, okay, you know what? And this isn't a Stacie, you don't fit any mold, but it was like you went up there and you sang, you slung your guitar, it was out of tune. The heck with it, I'm going to make it work. Talent prevailed. That's how I felt. Hopefully, you felt the same way.
I did. And I was a little bit nervous to be honest, because the voting, the first night or the first whole group of nights, um, you could vote as many times as you wanted over and over and over and over again. And that's when competitions can get tricky because you can have people that can sit there for hours, vote and vote and vote and vote and vote for you. Now, I had tons of people supporting me, but I don't think that they did that for the first night. So I was shocked when I got first in my heat. And then the final night, when I found out that you could only vote once, that was a game changer because that's when you know if talent is going to prevail. Because you have a community that just watched a group of people do their thing, and then they get to vote once and once only, and they have to pick the person that they think was the best. So I do know it was a very tight competition because it came down to me and an 11-year-old.
And she was
So
good. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me
it was
wrong.
so good. And you know what? I actually am still in contact with her mother because I was in her shoes. I was always the runner up. I was always the person that came second. So I saw the look in her face when I won first, and I wanted her to know that don't ever let that stop you because I've been in that situation. So I still talk to her mom, and we still talk to the daughter, and all is good there. So
Well,
talented fail that night, and you only could vote once. So I was really, really, really excited, especially for the first ever Sackville Idol.
and good on you, because a lot of people, one of the things that you'll come to find out about the music business as you get into it, it can be very supportive, and then it can be very cutthroat. And a friend of mine used to have this saying, it's filled with liars, cheats, and thieves, and those are the good people. However, you do have a good support system, and you went out after that. You did a CD. I remember hearing some of the tunes on that. Talk a little bit about that, because that was your first time in a while of before this new single getting some stuff on to record.
So a lot of the songs that I because during Sackville Idol, because I won, I ended up getting to do a 1 hour session on the Wolf's Den. And it was on 97.5. And to be honest, that one I was a bit nervous for because he wanted me to bring originals, and all the originals that I brought, aside from two of them, were ones that I've done when I was younger. So I had tons of songs that my parents have spent, thousands of dollars in me getting those recorded because we didn't know anything about the music business back then. So we just went where we could. And we recorded some songs. So some of those songs that played were actually older when I was like 20, 17, 18, 19, 20. And then I did one live song of something I've written more recently. And then since then, I've just been writing more recent songs that I've been releasing one at a time. So Pride, for example, I released that one in December of last year. And then Mirrors, I released that this week. So I'm writing new music and then slowly releasing each one versus doing a whole bunch and then releasing an album.
Yeah, I think that's a smart strategy in this day and age, especially the way that people's attention spans are so small, and you have such a small window to catch their attention, right?
And that's exactly it, because that's what I mean when I release Pride. Now, Pride, because I'm part of the LGBT community, it hits certain people. People can listen to it; they love the message, but it's meant for a group that is LGBT, which it is very large. But not as much local. So I got lots of support from my family and friends for, about a week. And then eventually that song dwindled. So with Mirrors, I'm noticing a huge difference, especially the fact that I've been told that song is played on the radio, and I wish I could hear it. But I'm sure I could online here, but I would like to hear it when I'm driving down the road in my car in Nova Scotia. So Mirrors has definitely hit differently than the last song I released 2 months ago.
And I hope you do get that opportunity, because I tell you, when and I mean, I can remember years ago hearing my song on the radio when I was part of a band. And then when we put Michelle's song out last year, I mean, that was, she had 4 years of trying to get something recorded, and a song was written in 15 minutes and recorded in about an hour. And it blew up. And it's pretty exciting for anybody to hear something that they've worked on that's close to their heart being shared out there, right?
I know that. So I was born in New Brunswick. And then we moved here to Nova Scotia when I was 4. And I've been here ever since. But Nova Scotia St. Stephen, they have a radio station out there. And they played all of my songs, every single one of them, because they support local. And even though I wasn't there anymore, I was born there. So they were constantly the radio station that played it. And I didn't get to hear it because I was in Nova Scotia. But I did tune in one day and I listened to it, and it was so phenomenal. I think I was only like 17 or 18 at the time. So when I heard it, I was like, that is so cool. I love every second of hearing that on the radio. So I'm excited, and I hope that when I get back to Nova Scotia next week, that I'll be able to hear it myself.
And I'll tell you, when it really gets fun is you don't hear it, but you start getting the SOCAN statements, and you start seeing it being played in Germany and Japan and France, and it's like, in Greece, and that's when it's like, holy smokes! Like I put something together, and Nova Scotia, and it's out there, so it's amazing. We're gonna take a little break. We're gonna come back for segment 2. I want to cover the new single. You're doing you're not nervous at all now, man. It's great.
No?
Sackville Idol was the thing. We're back after this.